G'day guys, so I'm going to show you how to do a scan now and how they differ as well. So first things first, you pick out the list that you want to scan. Of course, you will have already imported those from the download section in the members area, so you've got all your lists available to you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and look at UK equities, all right? Now, these are all delayed, and that's fine because the way that I trade equities is on an end of day basis. So here's how I would set up my charts. The top chart would be the daily chart. The bottom chart will be the 2-day chart because that is my two time frames that are of importance. Now, what I'm simply looking to do first and foremost, now it doesn't matter whether I'm scanning equities, foreign exchange, crypto, anything. What I'm looking to do here is look for trends. And because my trigger chart in this case is the daily, I'm looking for daily trends. So as I'm flicking through, I'm not really paying too much attention to this bottom screen right here. I'm just focusing on this top one, looking for a decent trend that is workable. So I go through, and you can go through relatively quickly when there is no trend. Okay, so here we go. Here is that's not really a trend because we go low to high, don't we? There's a nice trend there, but of course, next thing I need to know is I need to have the price pulling back in or a bit of a level for a breakout. Gee, Centrica's been on an absolute tear. So I'll keep going. So what I could do in this case, because it's a daily chart, I'll scan these once a day, of course, not on the weekend because the weekend closes. I mean, you can do it on the weekend for your Monday open, of course, but I'll scan these each day. And I'll be looking for something that's pulling back into the cradle zone. I'll put that into a watch list then. And this is the beautiful thing about trading viewers, that you can actually, you hover over it and you can click what color you want. So you might have a color coding scenario for different colors for different markets, or equities and FX and that sort of thing. So I'm scanning away, looking for decent trends where there's a pullback into the cradle zone. Now this is trending okay, so if this pulled back into here over the next few days, that could be tradable for me, no problem at all. It's not though, it'll come up in the next couple of days. Just seeing if there's anything available right now that has either a level or a pullback into that cradle zone for which we like to trade from. So it's a matter of, essentially what you're doing is a process of elimination here. You're looking for things like this. We've seen a little higher low come in here. Not the greatest, to be fair, but just as an example, we've got a little bullish candle right there, a very nice little move. That's the sort of thing we're looking for, but not now. We're looking for it while it's that. So you can go through pretty quickly because, as I say, the first thing is you've got to have a trend, then you've got to have it pulling back into the cradle zone, into those moving averages. And as you can see, we're not quite there on this one either. Now, I'm going to flick from stocks across to, let's go for a crypto list. For crypto, I'll set my charts up slightly differently. What I'll tend to do is I'll put the 4-hour up here and I will have the daily down here. It gives me a nice bigger picture of the higher time frame, but also the mid time frame for which I can work from. Now in this case, I'm looking at Bitcoin right here. Now we don't actually have an uptrend, do we? Because we've kind of gone low to high. Otherwise, this could be something that we would be looking at. A pullback into that cradle zone, we could look to trade that. Of course, it is already triggered, but this is the sort of thing I'm looking for. When markets pull back in, I can also at this stage, if I've got a bullish candle there or something around those levels, I can drop to the lower time frames to see if there is any flat levels for a breakout starting to eventuate. So again, what I have here, this is XRP. I'm going to blow this up. I've got the bottom as the daily. I've got the top as the 4-hour. I can see here a little bit of a pullback here. So I'm going to move lower and see if I can find a chart that represents a time frame for which I might like to trade. So I'm moving down through the time frames now. And what I've got currently is a higher low and a higher high. So XRP is now in an uptrend. If price was to pull back into this cradle zone, I might be interested in trading this. Now, I wouldn't go any further. You can go to your 2-hour and make sure you've got a higher low, higher high, convergence, moving averages in the correct order, all those sorts of things. But for me, I like to throw them all into a watch list. I'm going to throw it into the red, I'll throw it in a blue list here. Now I've got something in my watch list. I'm going to keep an eye on this throughout the day. I'm not just going to sit here and stare at the chart. If it does, in a few hours' time, pull back into this area and give me a bullish candle, that is something that I might look to trade. Okay, so back to my 4-hour, I've put XRP into my list. Solana here, let's have a look at this because we do have, again, a little bit of a pullback through here. So we're going to work down through the time frames. And what I'm looking for in this case is to see, is there actually a flat level for which I can look to place an order? There is no flat level there at all. So it's not going to fulfill any of my trading strategy needs. I'll try here again on Litecoin. Again, we've got a little bit of a pullback, some momentum to the upside. We'll move down through those time frames. I can see there are a couple of candles that are sort of around the same level, which means that we may actually get something here that could be worthwhile. It's got a lot of work to do still, but you can see there's like two that are very, very close. Now, that is not anywhere near close enough for me to be raising an order. Of course, what it needs to do now is it needs to make a concerted effort away, preferably with a higher low, and then at least one more test up into that resistance. But again, I'm waiting to see if that is going to eventuate. It's worthwhile me keeping an eye on that so I don't have to scan through this entire list again. So that will go into my watch list. And back I go. Bitcoin Cash. Ooh, okay. Once again, we've got a pullback here. It's not going to be a cradle trade because we go low to high. But there's a couple of candles around the same sort of highs here. So once again, I will move down through these time frames, seeing is there a level starting to form. Now let's have a look here on the 15. It's not quite, is it? It's not quite there. What I could do, however, it's to be fair, it's a little bit too scrunched up. The 5 minute could be worthwhile keeping an eye on. Again, it's a process of elimination. If this trade on the 5 minute, for example, were to come back down, higher low, come back in for a third test, that would be 3 tests, which I could look for a potential breakout. I would also then need to have this MACD starting to get more convergent. I will put that in the list on that 5 minute. It could eventuate. So I'm working through these time frames, looking for my opportunities. Doge, what have we here? No real level, no real trend. It's got to push above this high for it to even come into any form of trend, and therefore it is not of interest to me right now. Pretty much same here with Cardano. Yes, there's a pullback, a bit of a pullback here, but we have not pushed to new highs. Even if I went to the 15 and there was a flat level, for which there isn't, I would more than likely be leaving that because I do want there to be momentum into my breakout. When I look at DOT, here's an example. So this is why we have the daily up on our charts as well. With this particular chart, you can see there is a bearish candle right there in the cradle zone in a downtrend. Now, of course, this candle has not closed yet. The day needs to end before I can raise an order based on the rules based on this candle. Again, that would go into my watch list. And this is an example. This is a really great example as to why I would be looking at multiple time frames and having the daily down there because you never know where the opportunity is going to come from. The 4 hour is really nice at showing you what's happening at the moment and looking for the momentum in the lower time frames, or the mids to lowers, and the daily is good for a higher time frame perspective there as well. Now, of course, you can do this across any of your different lists. The same thing I would do when I'm looking at my FX pairs. I'm looking to see, is there a trend? And you can see the daily, lower high, lower low, pulling back in. It's not quite there on the daily. Let's try the 12 hour. Well, the 12 hour, there is a bearish candle right there in a downtrend, but as we look at this further, we'll note that from this low to this low, we're quite clearly divergent. So therefore, I would be leaving that alone. There's nothing there on the 4 hour. Sterling against the US dollar, another example here where we see a bit of a flat level starting to form. So we'll start to move down through the time frames, seeing do we in fact have a tradable level here? And you don't need to draw the level, and you can just hover if you just hover this cursor, it makes it very straightforward. You can see that if I were to draw a line, you've got break there, break there, break there. Yes, there is some support through there. Is it tradable at this stage? I'd have to say no. It's a little bit too the level's not defined enough for me at this stage. So it's about working through your time frames, looking for that momentum, solid sideways here. It needs to push above. There is no specific price point that I would like to trade there. It's not a strong enough level. You're working through your time frames. You're looking for the opportunities if they're available. If you see a market that is like this, i.e. completely sideways, you can go straight past it. What we are looking for is we are looking for trends. Here you can see right now sterling against the Canadian dollar. Lower high, lower low, pull back in, cradle right there. Very nice move. This is the sort of thing we're looking for, right? These clean pullbacks with bearish candles with convergence. Boom. Really nice move. This is moving quite well. I'll keep moving lower to see intraday if there's any good cyclicity or trend. There really isn't at this stage. So sterling CAD, if it pulled back in on one of these higher time frames, it may come onto my list at a later time. Again, sideways, messy, starting to move, needs to really move out further. It's just coming out of a bit of a sideways range there on Canadian dollar against the yen. A bit of a messy looking chart at this stage, needs to push on higher. Even if there was a breakout point through here, again, there's no momentum. It's very sideways. I'd be leaving that. Sterling against the yen. Let's have a look at this now because we can again see a bit of a flat level forming. We saw it on sterling against the dollar. However, it did not have a good enough level. Perhaps we will down here. Let's have a look. We've got test 1, test 2, test 3. Of course, what we would need is to see a lower high and not a loss of momentum. So a creep back down and then potentially even another little lower high there. So for me, I would be putting this into a watch list. Of course, I'll change the color. I'll make this green. This is my FX list. It is in green. If I did get this setting up better, I could look to raise my order. But for the time being, it just jumps into that watch list for me to keep an eye on. A little bit of momentum to the downside there as well. So that's how you go about it. It's a methodical process. It will take some time to get used to, but as you work through it more and more, you will start to see things stand out a lot clearer. Again, here's one. Euro against the Aussie. Lower high, lower low, good convergence through here. A pullback into that cradle zone, just tapping on the 10. That's absolutely fine on the 12 hour. I am, however, going to drop to the 8 and see, do I have anything worthwhile here? The issue that I have with the 8 is that there is a little bit of a pullback there as well. I'd probably rather wait and see if this 12-hour closes like this, okay? And then obviously you go through your watch list, your checklist, and you see what it is. So you go through your watch list and see if it fits the rules, really. So that's how you do your scans, guys. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some getting used to. But it's a repetitive process, which I'm sure you will get the hang of because we all do after we practice and practice and practice. You'll find that scanning equities, you're going to focus on the daily and the 2-day more than anything else. Other markets where there is a bit more of an intraday market available to us with better liquidity like crypto and foreign exchange, you'll be able to drop down to those lower time frames, looking for those pullbacks, looking for those breakout levels and looking for trading opportunities. Putting them into watch lists like in a color-coded option is a very, very good way of doing it. I believe you can rename these lists as well. I don't really care. I just pop the colors in. Nice and easy. All right. So hopefully that helps. Practice, practice, practice. And I'll see you in the Discord group. Bye for now.